Podcasting. Anyone ever thought about having a podcast? Where do I start? Where do I begin? Here's a tip for you, something that I use, Anchor. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. It is absolutely free, and they provide all the creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your computer, phone, tablet, whatever device you have. It is super convenient, and Anchor will even distribute your podcast for you. Your podcast can be on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Grow your listeners and get as many people as possible to listen to your podcast. Everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Let's do it.
Shows are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Welcome to the Edventures in Tech podcast. Talking the latest tips and trends in educational technology to innovate and engage your students. Here are your hosts, Andrew and Dan.
Welcome to episode 41 of the Edventures in Tech podcast. Dan, good morning.
Good morning, Andrew. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. How's your mental well-being, Dan? Is it good?
It's good.
It's good. You know, everybody, we always are out and about, and people are like, oh, you know, has Dan had any more of that spicy popcorn? I'm like, actually, he has not been breathing on fire lately. So
I miss it. I need some pipcorn.
Yeah, that's what it is, pipcorn, right?
Pipcorn.
Clean your sinuses out, right? That's the nice thing about it. That or some wasabi, right?
I do like wasabi.
I know.
I remember my son thought, it was a while ago, but he grabbed some wasabi thinking it was avocado.
Avocado. Oh, boy. Oh, rude awakening for Cam.
Oh, that was
the tears were coming out of his eyes. How big of a gob of wasabi did he have?
The whole thing that comes in the sushi. He was having California rolls, and he just grabbed it and ate it. Oh. Good thing wasabi, the heat goes away quick.
It does, yeah, but I could only imagine. He learned his lesson the hard way there.
I don't mean to laugh, but...
No, that's funny. He takes right after his father, you know, pipcorn, wasabi, you know, it's a spicy episode, put it that way, right?
I might get there.
Anyways, if you like the content, you like us, help us out by providing feedback and a rating wherever you download your podcast from. We greatly appreciate your support. Tons of things going on. We've been very busy with interviews, so that's been great. We have a couple good guests coming in the coming weeks, some big names coming, so something more for you to look forward to, but we do thank you for your continued listenership. And Dan, let's talk classroom updates, because it's been a zoo, for lack of a better term, right? Like, we're everywhere, all over the place.
I know, It's
everywhere, but it's a good thing. It's a good thing because it's a more, as we get more and more close to normalcy of pre-pandemic routines of everything, people are getting back in integrating tech into their classrooms and coming up with great ideas that have sparked interest. So Dan, talk about what you got going on right now.
There's a lot going on. I just think the big focus of where I've been busy in classrooms is with teachers designing their instruction to provide more student choice and creativity. So, you know, I'm wearing many hats and just helping support the students explore different avenues to demonstrate their understanding. Those tenets of UDL, right?
Yeah.
We keep talking about those multiple means. So I really enjoy working with the teachers that are embracing those multiple means and allowing students to be creative and collaborative, which is good because the collaboration is really happening. It's not just, they're doing group work. You know, they're actually going in and not, instead of like learning with a group, they're learning through the group. So there's really some nice, authentic conversation, some production, some creativity, bringing in student strength. So this morning I was working with a teacher who is a listener of this podcast. So
big fan.
Big shout out. But she's working on a project where the kids are taking on roles of storytellers. So continuing the oral tradition of storytellers and then giving them a choice in the way that they're going to demonstrate their stories. So I was running around between creating stop-motion videos, podcasting, movies, graphics, you name it. So a lot of support, but a lot there. So
that's great.
And there's a ton of other things going on, too. So what's going on in your world?
So lots going on. We've been doing a lot with robots lately. So we're doing a lot of coding with story maps for some robots, different level of robots. We've had the Roots out. We've had the B-Bots out. They're moved around, in all levels actually, because the B-Bots are going from an elementary building to a secondary building today actually at some point. So that's been going on. 3D printing. We're using the Morphe app, right? You're laughing, but you like that app, Dan. So 3D printing and with the Morphe app, so that's going on. We have podcasting going on as well in a 5th grade classroom. More listeners, right? And then we also have... there's so much going on. Green screen coming with book trailers. So that's another thing that you and I did, in previous years that we're going to be delving into in the coming weeks, I think, as well. So lots and lots going on as the world turns in education, so to speak. So let's get to the weekly windup. The first thing I want to talk about is finally, this was launched or announced, I should say. We know Flipgrid is now Flip.
I know. I have a hard time just still saying Flip.
I know. We all call it Flipgrid. I mean, I don't know why they changed it, because they got rid of the grid. Whatever. Let's not go on a soapbox here. But Flip Fest in 2022, at the end of the school year, they announced a bunch of different things, right? So new features and fun ways to use Flip. So basically now what they're doing is all of these updates and everything are finally live. Since they announced them just about 6 to 8 months ago, they are now fully rolled out. So Flip got better with new features and fun ways to use Flip. So it's simpler, faster web experience that's filled with feature updates that all of the teachers and educators have been asking for. So, for example, an updated web experience, the Flip camera, your videos, your groups, and topics are now just a click away, making it easier than ever to create and share in Flip. You can edit captions. You watch those videos, edit the captions side by side, and you can safely edit those captions with automatic moderation. There is a unified view for leads and members, so kind of trying to make it easier on the back end, that you have the same simple view with whatever your role is in that, I don't want to say grid anymore, but in your Flip learning space, and you'll know what the student view looks like on Flip, which is always a big thing, because they want to know, like, what did my students see? So now you can see that and confidently answer your students' questions. Archive groups, Dan, it's something that I've been waiting for, because we probably have 150 groups, but we have our most active groups, and get rid of the old ones with the archive function. You can customize your group links, which is also your code. There's immersive video playback, which will be playbacks bigger and more engaging, with videos at the center of the experience, along with topic prompts and descriptions. There's no more back and forth. So that was a big thing that kids would always forget the prompt. And now you can edit those captions side by side, like we said. There's a dark mode, right? Blue light glasses, if you need them. There's dark mode now for the screens, so the exposure to blue light will be better, and it will help eliminate eye strain. And then finally, you can search across your group's topics and videos for something that your students have done in the past. Now it's like just a search function. So there's more. There's more.
They've done a lot with the interface too when it comes to their camera, as they call it, where you're putting in. I mean, we've always had and it's even gotten better, the ability just to put in audio instead of having to do a video. So I really like that. But now they have so many features within their web base, in their create mode. They can sell a story through visuals, so using photos, text, stickers, and it really, really helps out. Add some video backdrops, and then also do some audio work on it as well. So, they're really moving forward.
It seems that they're absolutely taking feedback and actually changing the product for better in the education space. So we'll post the link in the show notes if you want to learn more about Flip. I do miss Flipgrid, but who are we, Dan? We're just, two guys on a podcast. So
that's it.
So
nickels in a blender.
We haven't said that in a while. Free sticker for someone right away who knows that comment.
There you go. That's our contest for today.
That's it.
Name that movie.
That's it. All right, so let's move on. So Shake Up Learning, Casey Bell, shakeuplearning.com, talked about 4 ways to blend learning with Insert Learning. So if you've never heard of Insert Learning, it's an extension that lets you turn websites into interactive lessons, and it's the perfect companion to blended learning lesson plans. It's definitely awesome. So basically, it used to be known as a different name.
Yeah,
it was
Docent.
Docent, and it was developed by high school teachers who needed that richer learning experience for their students. So basically, all it does is it gives this fantastic toolbar that allows you to highlight text, add sticky notes, insert questions, videos, or a discussion all inside a web page. So you don't have to go to something else to kind of bring the learning together. So when we talk about the blended learning environment, insert learning is definitely something that you can change any web page that you need. So think of whether it's, Newzela, Scholastic, all of those ones that, that teachers are using on the daily to get, content. You can now use insert learning, install it. It's a Chrome extension, and it should be pretty easy to manage and utilize in your instruction.
I remember using it a number of years ago, and it was a cool tool back then. But now they've really upgraded their interface. It's designed for Google Classroom, so there's a great integration there. And like you can really blend the learning with their toolbar. You can assign your interactive web page directly to Google Classroom. Students will be able to highlight the text on the page, put in sticky notes. You can put in free response or multiple choice questions right on the page. It's almost like doing a Pear Deck or a Nearpod on a web page. So
yeah. And they do have like where there's those points of those YouTube videos. You can insert it right at the correct moment in a text for G Suite integration. So obviously it's a freemium application, so you get your first 5 lessons for free. But if you are interested, their sponsorship or their cost was $40 a year. If it's something you see value in your instruction, I think it'd be well worth it for $40 a year. It's a reasonable cost for what teachers may need to utilize it for. So, all right, moving right along. We talk PBL a lot and UDL and all of these acronyms, and we know this is someone we do have to get on the podcast because we mention him so much with AJ Giuliani.
And he has another book coming out.
He does. He absolutely does. But, I think the article that he wrote really resonates in the sense of how project-based learning supports all students, right? So we're not saying, they're not asking for worksheets or lectures, let's be honest, right? Just like they're not asking for a rental from Blockbuster Video, right? We have to really kind of pivot our instruction and see where it's correlated and how PBL can actually, I don't want to say factor in higher test scores because of the active learning sessions, because it's really requiring them to think and perform more than just regurgitate something that's been spoken to them.
Right. I mean, I know we'll get into the articles. He has 2 that he's published in the last couple of weeks, PBL supports all students and why UDL and PBL work so well together. But, just kind of going off of the whole idea, we throw out all these different instructional models out there. But what it narrows down to is I may have said this analogy. I may have said this a lot of times on here, but I'm going to say it again. When I'm planning and I'm designing instruction for my class, I always want to put myself outside of my classroom. So when I walk by and look inside the door, what do I want to see happening in the class? Right. So I want to design my instruction for a vision of what I'd like to see happening. And like more often than not, that vision doesn't involve me standing in front of the classroom and the students sitting there filling out a worksheet or taking notes on the board. I'd like them to be active participants in the learning. So we look at the tenets of PBL, and we don't have to hash that out again. We look at UDL. But where it comes into, our whole ed tech guys thing, we really need to think about how using technology efficiently allows for those moments to happen in your classroom in a meaningful way. You can do it without the technology, but when you really want to drive student inquiry and you want to create that engagement and you want to create authentic products that demonstrate understanding, especially in the light of, how we have to transition with all our conversations with AI, we really have to look at these tools that we're using and implementing the different aspects of Google Workspace or the different aspects of Flip. Like we think about providing all these opportunities for our students. I mean, just look at Flip for editing captions. Right. You're providing that opportunity for students in a digital space that's going to help them.
Correct.
We have so many different diverse learners. So putting into the project base where you can then incorporate more tenets of UDL and you can provide opportunities for students to really collaborate and generate and demonstrate understandings in a way that you can provide them meaningful feedback in the moment. through different formative assessment, or just being able to conference and have small group instructions as students are engaged in the learning. You can see their learning, you can get their feedback, you can be there in the moment instead of having students fill out a worksheet. And then what are you going to do? Grade it right or wrong?
Right.
Which, there is some things you have to have.
There's
that
purpose for that.
There's
right.
purpose, but the continue overrun, is that really benefiting the learning, growth of a student and then it's like, okay, well then they can come for extra help. But that extra help is often after the fact of where they're processing, and you start from the beginning. It's so great that technology and the tools that are out there will allow us to hit it in the moment and be more proactive with the time we spend with our students. Yeah. So I don't know. We should go into the article, right?
Let's do it.
I'll keep this brief. No, I won't. But
let's go ahead.
Kind of looking at the PBL, the UDL, and going through it and looking at how you design these experiences for students. So I was teaching a class last night at the university level. It was a mix undergrad and grad students, and we were talking about designing collaborative spaces using technology and the benefits of collaborative learning. And I had a task for them, which was what is the difference between group work and collaborative learning? So kind of like an out there deep conversation. So, and I had a few different readings to go along with it. So I simply could have given them the readings, have them go in and maybe answer some questions or go into a discussion post. But I figured that's not really going to capture what I was looking for an authentic generated response to that. So, I thought about processes of how I can have student inquiry in my classroom drive the instruction and create understanding for everyone. So I started out with a QFT process, question formulation technique. Students brainstormed questions that went to the prompt. They went and identified their questions as closed or open. They changed some questions just to learn about different question styles. They highlighted their top questions. I gave them the articles then. They answered their individual questions, and then each group then had to generate a one-page infographic on a slide deck.
Nice.
Demonstrating their understanding, the conversations, everything that was happening, the building, using their own inquiry to drive their instruction and understanding. It was great. And I have to add this in. You know what I did at the end?
What did you do?
I asked the question into ChatGPT.
Of course you did.
And we compared the AI
response to theirs.
And we had a great conversation of how in the experience in the classroom there were so many benchmarks and milestones that teachers could really check in and see and collaborate together. And then the whole class came up with a thing. And then we compared our responses to the AI, and it was so much richer. Right.
So that's going to be a good proving point.
The AI gave us the answer, which was, pretty much spot on to a degree to what the students produce, but much less detail.
Correct.
And they didn't have their individual voice in it.
Right.
So we had that
Lower
conversation about it. And it was really cool. So sorry.
No. That's fine. That's fine.
Right, everyone wake up now. I probably bored you. No. Hands on the wheel. Hands on the wheel.
But when we talk about, those UDL learning guidelines, right? And, basically it's three facets with the brain, right? So it's providing the multiple means of engagement, right? The effective networks, the why of learning, and then you have the multiple means of representation, which is, the recognition networks, the what of learning, and then the multiple means of action and expression, strategic networks, the how of learning, and those are the three, parts of the brain, and the activity you just described hit all three.
Right, and you had that, and it was fun watching them do the infographic because some people were really concerned about the information they put in there.
Right.
And there were other people who were just like, I love to design.
Right.
And they're designing and they're adding things, but they're looking at everything that their individual group is putting together and making meaning of it in different ways.
Right, and that kind of, as AJ sums up his article, you have the expert learners of the goals of purposeful and motivated, right, of what that needs to be done, resourceful and knowledgeable, and then strategic and goal directed. So everybody hits those different areas, for the UDL. So that's kind of where we're going. And I love how you brought the AI thing in, Dan, because it's really going to bring up the next conversation that we're going to be talking about today. I mean, I know we've talked a lot about AI, but the one thing I want to mention is before we get into our good old friend, Matt Miller, and Jennifer Gonzalez and a couple other people that are talking about AI, there's a couple things that first you were able to witness it, right? Seeing that it was not able to, It wasn't as rich as what was, human created.
Right.
And everybody we know, December, even early January, was jumping, saying we got to block it, we got to stop this, we got to figure something out. And people did, right? We'll get into those detectors, but the big thing now is what we said was coming. First off, you have to be 18 to use it. So unless it's in a higher education university level, technically you're not supposed to be using ChatGPT, right?
It will be used.
Agreed. All right. So, but
we can't promote it.
No, but it kind of lends itself to secondary education in that regard. And now there's a pay plan where the free plan is only available when it's used very little, during downtime. Mm-hmm. So there is now a paywall, which we said was coming, right? Which we know can bring an equity issue, right? Obviously, it's $20 a month, for you to be able to use it. But that paywall is now there. And, so then you get premium access to it, which means you won't be blocked versus those who could be blocked if they're just trying to utilize it, the downtime in that regard. So I don't want to say it was urgent as, for us to find a fixer or a gotcha moment, so to speak. We know that the student, Edward Jean, I think is his name, right? He created GPT-0, and that was kind of released on January 2nd. And when we talk about these, go ahead.
He's definitely built that up and found his space.
He has. They shut it down. Because it was so popular, he didn't have enough tools, for hosting for everything. But that came out, and obviously all of these AI, what's the, not the gotchas, but the ones that are kind of, detectors. They're looking at the complexity of the text and the variation of sentences and how likely it is to be generated. I got to repeat that. How likely. Not that it was, created by ChatGPT or Bing's new version, but how likely it is. So ChatGPT-0 was just the first one. So it's not going to be a foolproof, detector of this article, this paper, this essay, this sentence was written by AI. Mm-hmm. There's many of them that have come out since then because we know how quick education evolves. So we have OpenAI text classifier and fictitious.ai. They're freemium models, right? And then they have, they go to the sentence or the paragraph or the essay level. Nothing's foolproof, which, we have to kind of just, make sure that resonates. It's not 100% accurate. Mm-hmm. Common Lit and Quill, quill.org, they have a 4-page PDF toolkit that addresses AI plagiarism, in the classroom. And all AIwritingcheck.org. Like I was just doing some research on all these in my voice notes on my phone and seeing all of them and what they were doing. Writer.com, all of them. They're not going to be foolproof. They're just going to show a percentage on how likely it is AI or a human wrote it. And you can test this out with anything that you did,
I could, and you know what? There might be a time where I'd want to see that, but I think more often than not, that's going to be a big time waste for me.
Well, that's
personally. Like if I'm going to go in and play the AI police, I'm going to, there might be a time where I would utilize those. But I think more often than not, I'm going to remember that I really want to focus on, a process of learning and instruction and finding those opportunities for students to use their voice and then see and guide them through there. So, but it is good to see that there is ways of coming up because I think there has to be an opportunity where you check in every now and then.
Right.
Students themselves looking at evaluating sources and looking at different things. Hey, who created this, right?
Yeah.
So
vet your sources and your resources. Absolutely. And that kind of leads us into Matt's AI tools for the classroom because depending upon age level, obviously, here are 15 AI tools that you can use in the classroom. We know ChatGPT.
And I don't think we need to go through all of them. We'll put the link there. But, I'm telling you, it's moving at record pace of how many people are adopting this into. We've talked about CuraPod in the past, how it'll generate an interactive slide deck. It's basic, kind of like, but it's a starting point. I think as teachers, and Matt Miller said it, we can recapture time.
Exactly.
Efficient, and in a way, like, it's so much, like, some of these AI tools will allow you to get time, but also, build off of something that you have a vision of creating instead of going to that one website that we already talk about and
you went there.
getting those PDF versions and then
Agreed.
trying to make those PDF versions fit the instruction for your students.
And paying for them.
And paying for it, which, sometimes
We're not going to knock it completely.
we're not going to knock it completely, but we
spend a
ton of time. We think we're saving time, but yet we're just not happy with how it's going to work with our students. And then you have a locked file of it that you'd have to recreate anyway. But some of these things like CuraPod or Perplexity, which is out there, it's a cool chatbot like ChatGPT that gives you sources right in. Education Copilot. Quillbot, which is a great extension that goes right into Docs, will give you writing prompts.
Speechify.
All these different things are time savers where teachers can be, we always talk about students being creators and not consumers. Teachers can really recapture some of that time to be innovative creators and really tailoring learning experience for students that fits the vision and needs that the teacher has for their classroom.
Yeah. YouTube summary with ChatGPT, right? You don't have to watch the whole YouTube video. It basically is a free extension, lets you quickly access the summary of the YouTube videos. We've talked about Adobe. We've talked about Canva. There's a lot of them in there as well. It's no more just the remove.bgs anymore because all of these platforms are allowing to use these things. Dan, two of your favorite, and we'll wrap up, we'll post Matt's article about the tools, but you love DALL-E, Dan, right?
I do. I mean, it's a little scary to me, the art images. It's so realistic. I'm just on so many different levels. It's like I don't know. I remember John saying people are going back to those digital cameras. I'm like, but we need that authenticity in art. But like something like DALL-E or something like the
Canva,
text
the
to
Canva magic,
image
right,
in Canva or the I Can't Draw feature in Padlet. Which is
right. That's a new one that I forgot to put on here.
Which I think is as far as the AI image generator, I think the Padlet one is a little bit stronger.
Right.
Not that Canva's not. They're both great, but like the image generators and how I just have a greater. There's a stronger way to have students demonstrate their understanding of a concept by creating authentic, original images. Yeah, they can do it in a graphic design program like Canva and build that if that would be your focus to do it.
Correct.
But if your focus is something else, not on building an original graphic, but using a graphic that really demonstrates to the understanding what they're doing, they can create those graphics instead of spending 45 minutes looking at Google Images over and over and over and over
trying
and
to find
over
it.
again,
Yeah.
trying to find it. And
exactly what you want. Exactly.
Right. And then you have to deal with all the copyright issues, yada, 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 depending where you're publishing these. So, these things, teaching students a process of using these AI generators. So using better descriptive language, using terms, learning how to ask it better questions to get an outcome. So coming in with the art is a great way of introducing students to how it works. I know Matt Miller had his Frankenbot template that he put out, so that's a cool thing you can look at. There's other lessons that are put out there of teaching students on how AI is going. That's another thing I'll be working with in English class soon, working on that AI type, learning how it works. So we'll keep you posted on that. So yeah, it's
like we said at a previous episode, buckle up and get ready for the ride, because you see how quickly things have evolved since its release. It's already got to pay a freemium version, but there is the paywall now that people do have to access it, right? And how much the detectors have come out, and how much every educational platform has evolved this quickly to get into the technology. When we talked about Padlet, right, we hadn't even mentioned that one, and how quickly that has evolved and how just creative they made the whole thing.
I mean, look how quickly Conquer came out.
Correct, right.
And now they keep growing. I mean, Conquer has become a great formative assessment tool.
Yep.
And what I really like about it is they integrated so many different languages into it now, and it's getting better and better and better, that you can then generate these close reads, these reading comprehensions, these quizzes, and then right from there, put your output language as whatever you would want. I mean, I even saw they had simplified Chinese, I think. I don't know. I'm trying to, maybe not, but I mean, they have a ton of different languages. So you're looking for teachers to create those environments. They need to remember the digital workspace. Going back to our buddy Nate, breaking the Blockbuster model. Design your instruction in your digital space to be delivered in your physical space of the classroom. You can provide those accommodations. You can provide those scaffolds. You can provide those meaningful things. If you're willing to set the time to front load your planning and then take advantage of that time you spent front loading to have more time where it matters, engaging with students in the moment.
Yeah, I mean, 1,000%. And again, that's the big thing we want everybody to take out of this is the efficient component. We always said, what if you had more time in a day? Well, there are these AI tools can absolutely assist you in some areas to recapture that time. And that's the big thing when we said to be efficient. It's going to help you with your efficiency. So we will post that. The other article I want to post is the how to use ChatGPT as an example machine. Mm-hmm. It's from the Cult of Pedagogy, blog and website. She's got a ton of just examples and establishing criteria and how to use it, and then how to kind of, you get your skeleton and then you craft it and you say, okay, I don't want this part in it, or I want this part in it. And then it's going to help you explore processes and keep moving forward. So you'd always have your criteria, your prompts, and then you keep going. Right. You review and adapt as much as you need, and then contrasting cases and then review it and adapt it again until you get what you want. It's the same thing as searching Google, YouTube, or other, platforms to get the material that you want. This is just going to help educators as we talk about the efficiency to get probably narrowed down and a lot quicker exactly what you're looking for. So, Dan, that's going to pretty much, final thoughts. We talked a lot about AI again, but and PBL, but it's important. It's important. It's at the forefront of education now.
Well, I mean, we want to look at what we want to get out of our students. So looking at PBL, UDL, all these things coming out, we really, to have effective classroom environments for our students moving forward, and how to really move them and prepare them for a future that they're going to be engaged in, we really need to evaluate our instruction. And using these tools, we can create, PBL, UDL, all these things can be done without tech.
Correct. Right.
But tech makes it
efficient,
and it makes it responsive, and it makes it engaging, and it makes it, and then putting in that AI to even take your plans and take it a step further to give you ideas that you did not have before. Right. Or if I need a slide deck with some interactivity on a topic, I can go to Curapod, get a basic structure of a slide deck, and then start adding it. Maybe that can become part of my explain in a 5E model. And then I can build off of that. And then I can create a choice board to go along with it. And I can, remember to do like simple things like if I create that slide presentation, I can present it in Google Slides and turn on captioning. Right. So it captures my live voice. So if I have students that need that support in the classroom, I think everyone could use it. Like, those are the things that we need to start thinking about and planning. I mean, it's not just like, I don't like technology, or we need to be relevant.
Right. I think that's the way to sum it. Ask yourself, how can I make my instruction, or how are things relevant to what my kids are learning, or just their environment. It's just on a daily basis, that's what they're surrounded with. So great final thought there, Dan.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Sticker requests, hit us up. We'll put it in the show notes as well. We'll put all of these in the show notes. Answer Dan's trivia question.
Yeah, right. Tweet at us. Tweet at us your answer.
There you go.
You get a sticker.
That's it. Once again,
we're saving lives.
All your support listening on all the platforms. You're giving them too many clues. Leave those reviews. You have questions, comments, suggestions, reach out. Tech hard, work smart, live an adventure.
Find Andrew on all socials at A Nicola Tech and Dan at WCSD Tech DR.